I'm Constance. Sitting in the SUV on my way to the White House, I'm reflecting on how everything changed in an instant at that family brunch. Just a short while ago, I was at the country club terrace, surrounded by my family and my father's friend, Mr. Thompson, a senior partner at a top-tier law firm in D.C. My family has always had a certain view of me. My parents, Mr. and Mrs. Miller, come from a well-to-do background. My father is a traditional man who values status and wealth. He's always been keen on showing off his connections and achievements. My mother, on the other hand, is more concerned with how our family is perceived in society. They've raised my older sister, Lily, and brother, Ethan, to pursue high-profile careers. Lily is a successful corporate lawyer at a big firm, and Ethan is a renowned heart surgeon at a prestigious hospital. At the brunch, Mr. Thompson extended his hand and said, "So, this is Constance. Your father tells me you work for the government." I nodded and confirmed, "Yes, I'm in the executive branch." My father quickly interjected, "It's nothing too exciting. Just some administrative work." Constance has always been more into public service than climbing the career ladder. Lily laughed, swirling her champagne. She could have followed in my footsteps, but no, she chose to serve the country. Noble, but not very profitable. Mr. Thompson's wife, Mrs. Thompson, with a polite but disinterested smile, asked, "What exactly do you do? Process permits or handle records?" Before I could answer, my father explained, "Some boring government work. You know how federal jobs are. Lots of red tape and not much real responsibility." She's been there for 9 years, and still no significant promotion. Lily added with a smirk, "Probably just filing papers or scheduling meetings for the real decision makers." I sipped my coffee, remaining silent. Mr. Thompson leaned back in his chair. 9 years at an entry-level position is a long time, Constance. Have you thought about moving to the private sector? With your government background, you could find a good job in compliance or regulatory affairs. The pay would be much better. I replied calmly, "I'm comfortable where I am." My mother sighed heavily. That's Constance's problem. She's too comfortable. No ambition. Look at Lily and Ethan. They're making names for themselves, and Constance is just content with her government job. Mrs. Thompson pressed, trying to find something positive. "Which department are you in?" I answered, "I work closely with multiple departments, cross-functional collaboration." Mr. Thompson nodded knowingly, "Administrative coordination. Someone has to keep the bureaucracy running." My father agreed eagerly, "Constance is good at organization and details, but she's not very ambitious about advancement." Lily leaned towards Mrs. Thompson and whispered conspiratorially, "With her credentials from Harvard Law, top of her class and on the law review, she could have clerked for a Supreme Court justice. Instead, she took an entry-level government job and has been stuck there." I calmly said, "I'm doing what I want to do." But my mother retorted, "For how long? You're not getting any younger. When are you going to start making real money and having real influence? You can't live on a low salary forever." Mr. Thompson raised his eyebrows, "After 9 years? That's concerning. Most people would have advanced by now if they had a real career path." Mrs. Thompson said kindly, "Government jobs have good security at least." My father declared, "Job security without advancement is just stagnation. Look at Mr. Thompson, a senior partner by 42. That's what ambition looks like." Just then, Mr. Thompson's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his face brightened. "I just got confirmation. We're meeting with the Deputy Secretary of Commerce next week for some important trade negotiations. Finally got through the red tape." My father said admiringly, "That's the level Constance should be aiming for. Real power." Lily laughed, Constance, be realistic. You'd need to know senators, congresspeople, maybe even the president's inner circle to reach that level. You've just been filing papers for 9 years. That won't build the right connections. Suddenly, my phone vibrated in my purse. I discreetly glanced at it under the table. It was a secure line from the White House Situation Room. I set the phone face down beside my plate. My father noticed and said, "More government busy work? Can't even enjoy a weekend brunch without them calling." "Mr. Thompson said sympathetically, "That's the nature of government work. They don't respect your time because they know you'll always be available. In private practice, clients pay well and respect your time." Lily pointed out, "Constance doesn't bill anyone. She just does what her supervisor tells her." My phone buzzed again and again. My mother said, "Constance, please turn that off or step away. This is family time." I picked up the phone. There were 3 urgent messages. The Chief of Staff, Mr. Harris, said, "Constance, we have a situation. There's an intelligence intercept from the Middle East. We need your assessment immediately." General Wilson, an advisor to the Joint Chiefs, said, "We've confirmed unusual troop movements near the border. An NSC meeting is convening in 30 minutes. Your presence is required." Director Chen from the intelligence agency said, "This can't wait. We need you in the Situation Room now." I stood up and said, "I'm sorry, I need to take this." Mrs. Thompson was surprised. "On a Saturday?" I explained, "Government emergencies don't follow a 9 to 5 schedule." I walked to the far end of the terrace and dialed the secure line. "This is Constance Miller," I said quietly. "Mr. Harris's voice was tense. "Constance, thank goodness. We've intercepted communications indicating coordinated military movements in several regions. The President wants your analysis before we brief Congress. How soon can you get to the White House?" I checked my watch and said, "I'm in Bethesda. It'll take me 45 minutes with security clearance." He replied, "We'll have a car to you in 5 minutes. Send your location." I asked, "Give me the basics now so I can start processing." He said, "Encrypted channels show unusual coordination between state actors in the Middle East and North Africa. The patterns match the scenario you briefed us on 4 months ago about testing our response capabilities." I closed my eyes, running through the intelligence assessments I'd been monitoring. I asked, "Have we confirmed satellite imagery?" He said, "It's being analyzed now. The NGA is sending a preliminary assessment to your secure device." "Constance, if you're right about this coordination, it means they're testing our alliance response capabilities." I finished his thought, "Not an immediate threat, but a rehearsal. Give me 10 minutes to review the intercepts before the meeting." He said, "You've got it. The car is 2 minutes out. And Constance, the President specifically asked for you." I hung up and returned to the table. My father asked dismissively, "All handled?" I said, "Not quite. I need to leave." My mother looked offended. "Constance, we're in the middle of brunch. Can't you tell them you're busy?" I replied, "Unfortunately, no." Lily rolled her eyes. "This is exactly what we're talking about. You have no power, no ability to set boundaries. They just order you around." Mr. Thompson shook his head. "Constance, take some advice. If you don't set boundaries, people will walk all over you. Tell them you're off duty." I politely said, "I appreciate the advice." My father pressed, "At least tell us who's calling you. Your supervisor?" Before I could answer, a black SUV with government plates pulled up to the country club entrance. 2 Secret Service agents stepped out. One of them walked purposefully towards the terrace, his earpiece visible. He scanned the area until his eyes landed on me. "Miss Miller," he said as he approached our table. "We're ready when you are, ma'am." The whole table went silent. I stood up and said, "Thank you, Agent Brown." "One moment." I turned to my family. I really need to go. Enjoy the rest of your brunch. Mr. Thompson's lawyer instincts kicked in. Secret Service? Why would they be picking you up for administrative work? My mother's voice was uncertain. Constance, what exactly is your position? I repeated calmly, I work in the executive branch. There's a situation that needs my attention. Agent Brown spoke into his wrist. Mike Eagle's Nest, we have an advisor. ETA to the White House, 40 minutes. Lily's voice was a whisper. Advisor? I smiled apologetically at the Thompsons. It was nice meeting you. I'm sorry to cut this short. As I walked towards the SUV, I heard my father's stunned voice. Did he say advisor? And the White House? I climbed into the SUV, and Agent Brown closed the door behind me. Inside, a secure tablet was waiting with encrypted briefing materials. I immediately started reading the intelligence assessments as we drove away from the country club. The Middle East situation was unfolding exactly as I'd predicted in my classified memo 4 months ago. Multiple intelligence sources confirmed the coordination between actors with no obvious reason to communicate. It was a test to see how quickly our alliance could mobilize information and respond. My secure phone rang. The screen showed the direct line to the president. Mr. President, I answered. He said, Constance, Mr. Harris says you're 45 minutes out. I need your take on this before I brief Congress. Is this what you warned us about? I replied, Sir, this matches the coordination pattern I identified last spring. They're testing our response time and information sharing protocols. It's not an imminent attack but reconnaissance for future planning. He asked, so, no military response? I said, no, sir. We should use diplomatic signaling and enhanced monitoring. We should show them that we detected the coordination faster than they expected and that we're sharing intelligence seamlessly across our alliance partners. He said, that's what I thought you'd say. See you in 35 minutes. Meanwhile, back at the country club, I later learned that my phone, which I'd left on the table in a hurry, started buzzing with notifications. Lily, shocked and confused, watched as the screen lit up with messages. The Secretary of State said, Constance, confirm you'll brief us after the President's meeting. The National Security Advisor said, your assessment was correct. They're testing us. The Director of National Intelligence said, need your analysis for the congressional briefing. Lily whispered, Mom, look at her phone. My mother picked it up with trembling hands, seeing message after message from top-level government officials. My father said, this can't be real. Mr. Thompson, being more practical, said, those are official government numbers. I recognize them from my cases. They're real. The phone rang, and the caller ID showed the Chief Justice. No one answered. Mrs. Thompson was scrolling on her phone, and her face grew pale. There's a Constance Miller listed on the White House website. Deputy National Security Advisor, confirmed by the Senate 9 years ago. Former Harvard Law, former clerk for Justice Smith, former DOJ National Security Division. She looked up and said, there's a photo. It's her. The table fell into absolute silence. Mr. Thompson repeated slowly, Deputy National Security Advisor. That's not filing papers. That's one of the most powerful positions in the federal government. Lily was reading the same information, her hands shaking. It says she advises the president directly on all national security matters. She has higher clearance than most cabinet members. She coordinates intelligence across all agencies. Her voice broke, she's one of the most influential people in Washington. My mother protested weakly, but she said she does administrative work. Mrs. Thompson corrected, she administers national security policy for the whole country. It says here she was crucial in the peace deal in the Middle East last year and the cybersecurity agreement with our European allies. My father picked up his phone and Googled my name. He read aloud, The Washington Post, the most influential person you've never heard of inside Constance Miller's impact on U.S. security policy. Foreign Affairs Journal, Deputy Advisor Miller's strategic vision transforms modern diplomacy. Lily whispered, we called her a file clerk. We told her to interview at law firms for compliance jobs. Mr. Thompson was reading his phone, his expression mortified. She doesn't need to interview anywhere. She's been offered positions at every major think tank, law firm, and consulting group in Washington. Stanford offered her a full professorship, and the Council on Foreign Relations wanted her as president. She turned them all down to stay in government service. My mother said faintly, we said she makes a low salary. Deputy National Security Advisors make an executive Level 2 salary, which is $203,700 annually. Plus, she probably has outside income from publishing and speaking engagements. She's probably making close to $300,000 a year, not counting the value of her security clearance and access. Lily said, tears forming, we patronized her for 9 years. We thought she was a failure. Mrs. Thompson found a video clip from an international security conference. Look at this. She's on a panel with former secretaries of state and top policy experts. They're all deferring to her analysis. The moderator calls her the most brilliant strategic mind of her generation. My father watched the video, seeing me articulate complex geopolitical strategies with authority. His face crumbled. She tried to tell us. She said she worked in the executive branch, coordinating policy and advising on strategic matters. We just didn't listen. We assumed. Back in the SUV, I finished my analysis as we pulled up to the White House. I was escorted directly to the Situation Room, where the National Security Council was already gathering. General Wilson greeted me with relief, thank goodness. We need your assessment before the president arrives. I moved to the head of the table, where analysts had displayed satellite imagery, communications intercepts, and troop movement data on multiple screens. This is a coordinated probe, I began, pointing to the timeline. Multiple actors in different time zones, synchronized within a 120-minute window. They're not preparing an attack but measuring our detection and response capabilities. The Secretary of Defense asked, how do we respond? I said, not militarily. We show them that we detected the coordination within 4 hours of initiation. We brief our allies simultaneously, demonstrating seamless intelligence sharing. We make it clear that we've learned more about their coordination methods than they learned about ours. Director Chin nodded, essentially, we turn their reconnaissance against them. I said, exactly. They wanted to learn about us, but they've revealed their own coordination infrastructure. The president entered, and everyone stood. He waved us down and looked directly at me. Constance, give it to me straight. Are we on the brink? I said, no, sir. We're being evaluated. I recommend we show them that we not only passed their test but also learned from it. I've prepared a diplomatic response that signals strength without escalation. I spent the next 30 minutes briefing the President and the National Security Council on the strategic implications and my recommended response. By the end, everyone in the room was nodding. The President said, this is why I wanted Constance on this. Nobody sees these patterns faster or more clearly. Make it happen as she outlined. After the meeting, as I was gathering my materials, Mr. Harris approached me. Constance, the President wants you to brief the congressional leadership this afternoon, both the Senate and House Intelligence Committees. I agreed. He also said, we're getting press inquiries. How much can we disclose about your involvement? I said immediately, nothing specific. Keep my name out of it. Credit the intelligence community as a whole. He noted, you always say that. You could be a very famous policy expert if you wanted to. I replied, I want to do the work effectively. Fame would complicate that. My phone rang. It was my mother. I stepped into a secure corridor and answered. Mom. Her voice was thick with tears. Why didn't you tell us? That you're one of the most important people in the government, that you advise the president, that you're not filing papers but making policy that affects the world. I said gently, you never asked what I actually do. You asked where I work, and I told you. You asked about my day, and I gave you accurate information. You just interpreted it through your own assumptions. You thought I was wasting the potential you envisioned for me, corporate law, private wealth. But my goal was to serve my country at the highest level, and I'm doing that. Your father told his friends you were doing boring administrative work and apologized for your career. I said, he apologized for a career he didn't understand. That shows his values, not mine. She asked, can you forgive us? I said, there's nothing to forgive. You revealed what you truly value, status, wealth, recognition. I value service, impact, and effectiveness. We're just different people. But we're family, and I'll still come to family events and answer your calls. But I won't pretend that the last 9 years of dismissal didn't show me how conditional your respect is. She pleaded, Constance, please. I said, I have to go. I'm briefing the congressional leadership in 2 hours and need to prepare. I'll call you next week. I hung up and returned to my office, a large window-blind space with a view of the Washington Monument. My assistant was waiting with more briefing materials. Ms. Miller, the Senate Intelligence Committee chair wants to discuss your analysis before the formal briefing. I instructed, set it up for 1 hour from now. As I reviewed the materials, my phone buzzed with a text from Lily. Constance, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Can we talk? I typed back, I'm glad you know now. But knowing my position doesn't change who I am. I'm the same person I was this morning. The only thing that's changed is your perception. Her response came quickly, that's not fair. We would have treated you differently if we'd known. I replied, exactly. And that's the problem. I set my phone aside.